G'day everyone. I'm back after a week of working my day job. Um, Outside of here, I work at the airport and I work a really weird roster, but when I've got a few days off, I try to fit in. I'll try and fit in some of these tutorials for you, and hopefully you don't have to wait too long in between tutorials before I put out new ones. And hopefully the ones that you've been watching have helped. Hopefully you've been watching. The recent ones have helped you in your figure drawing journey and improving. I'm going to change it up a bit this week. Hopefully, I noticed that I've been doing very long videos, and this one I'll try to keep it a bit shorter. The thing is that it's hard to teach something that could take years and fit it into a few, like less than an hour. But like I've said in other videos, these tutorials are just short guides, and they shouldn't be like the only thing that you study. That you should be looking to other resources and trying to fill your brain with all this figure drawing or drawing knowledge, and just putting it to test and seeing what works best for you. Because something that I teach might not mesh well with you, something someone else teaches works well, and then something that they teach, something else that isn't so good, you might learn easier from me, like on a different topic, maybe anatomy or something like that. But I'll put out everything that I know, and I'll try and put it in a way that's easy to understand, and hopefully you don't have to go to too many other resources to make sense of it all. But yeah, you have to try and read as much and practice and see what different methods are out there and find what works best for you or suits you the most. Anyway, after that little short introduction, I'm going to go straight into it. And this is a book I bought, probably the first book. I'll put a proper image when I edit the video, but it's the Vilppu drawing manual. When I first started to learn figure drawing, I just went on YouTube and typed figure drawing, I guess, and Glenn Vilppu was one of the guys that came up, and he had a really loose way of approaching drawing the figure. Instead of just following the silhouette of what's in front of you, he emphasized not copying. I think he brings it up in this book several times, but he says, where have we got here? He encourages you to draw from your imagination, and using the figure helps you in your pursuit of being able to draw the figure from without reference, hopefully in the future. He says, I think in the first chapter or the first few pages, he mentions one thing. If you find yourself emphasizing the contours in your drawing over the three-dimensional form of what you are drawing, then you are copying. And he's got these other points on knowing that you're copying instead of analyzing. And the difference is, I'm guessing, analyzing is more studying and figuring out the orientation of different parts of the figure, like the ribs and the pelvis, the spherical forms and tubular shapes of the legs and arms. You have to think about sculpting on your paper instead of just copying like a cardboard cutout of what you see in front of you. Um, so in the first chapter of this Vilppu drawing manual, after a short intro, he gets into gesture, and you'll notice a lot of these artists will emphasize doing gesture before anything else. And his definition of gesture is the movement and attitude of a figure. He also says it's the single most important element in the drawing. And he's got a basic procedure of capturing gesture, and it involves 4 steps. And whenever you've got steps, like me, I prefer to follow steps than just bounce around with things. So that's, I guess, why I really took a liking to his drawing, his approach to drawing the figure. And like I've mentioned before, he says it also, there's no rules, there's just tools. So what I'm teaching you here is not the only rule and only way of doing things. It's one of the tools you can use to capture what you see in front of you. So let's start with the gesture of the head, which he breaks down into, I've got this new program here, Clip Studio Paint, and if I'm still learning this because I just bought a new tablet, but if I take time and trying to figure something out, please bear with me. I'll get better later on. So the head, he says to represent as a simple oval. Okay? And then what you'd like to add to that head is roughly where you would have the eye line, about the center of the head. Another spherical shape to represent, if you had a rubber band around this sphere, where would the eye line sit? Roughly there. And then he'll add a little point he adds is this small dot, which represents the top of your crown, or the skull. So if you just got a piece of paper and played around with representing the skull or the head as a oval, and remember to try and get into the habit of drawing through. See, I didn't draw through. I've got this side, which is solid, and if we go to the back of the head and continue that line around, it would be a dotted line. So just get into the habit of gesturing the head of the figure that you're looking at with essentially 2 lines. One for the oval of the actual skull, the general area of the head, and an eye line. And this eye line acts as I guess it helps you define the orientation of this sphere. So I don't know if this is looking up or down. So if it's looking up, I'm going to have that band looking up towards that. If it's looking down, I'll have the band looking down towards it and draw through. So that is his first step. And let's have a look. I've got a image of the head here. So you've got your figure. How would you represent it? So just bear with me. Okay. The head, a general oval shape. And then this eye line sits on that sphere like so. And just do a bunch of them to get used to the idea of not copying. Let's see. I'll try and we're not Uh, just a moment. Yeah, we're not copying, you know, the contours here. That's how they do it in other schools, but we want to use our powers that we're honing in of analyzing. So it would be rather like that. I'll find another hit example. Uh, where are we? Now, another one here. So general shape doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. General shape as an oval, and then the orientation of that eye line. And remember to draw through. Another one, let's see. Okay. Let me see what this is. Okay, so let's have a look at this image. I've got another one here. How are we going to represent that head there? The tilt seems to be going that way. I'll draw it a lot bigger. And then the head is kind of looking upwards. So that's the eye line I've represented there. Now, he's got a second step of representing the neck with a single line. And I tend to gravitate towards the back of the neck. So I'll draw a line like that. And this line is important. It connects you to the bottom of the body, the ribs. So always when you're doing if you just focus on drawing heads and just practicing this spherical technique, when you're doing that, always add the gesture line for the neck. So if we go back to the other example here, let's see if I can do it. Yes, I can do it back. All right. So this one, gesture of the head, eye line, and the back of the neck I can see there. And if you wanted to test yourself, you could try and see if you can see through this figure to the back. And where does the middle of the neck sit at the back? It would sit around there at the back. You could try and test yourself like that. This head here, if I do a small one in red, maybe, I don't know how to figure out that red yet. Anyway, if I do a small one down the bottom right here, just looking up and draw through the back of the neck. There you go. So it's a very simple, what I like about the technique of Glenn Vilppu, it's extremely simple, but it takes time to hone these skills to be able to draw a figure from memory. So constantly practice this gesture drawing of the head. But in this video, we're going to go through the whole body. So the step one was the oval of the head with the axis of the eyes, and also adding the neck was part 2. So part 3 is adding the ribs, the back, the legs. Okay, so let's go through it. Let's do that. Okay, I'm looking at this gesture. I'll erase what I've got there. Where's this erase tool? Oops, it's done everything. I'll figure it out. Oops. Okay, so head, axis of the head, all the eyes, the neck. Okay. Next step for him, step 3, we're going to put these lines that represent, let me see, see, if I've got the ribs around here, and that was a spherical shape, that's the center, that would be roughly the feel of that axis of the rib. So I've got the hip area here. I feel, especially this section here where it's bulging out, this area is bulging out. So I guess I'm representing the bulge. I talked about this center axis here, but we're not getting an absolute likeness. We're getting the feel. Remember that? The feel of this figure. So down this leg here, I feel that stretch here. And then I feel this area here around the knee. See, this rhythm is bouncing off one another like this. And then you could bounce that off into the heel and just represent your line at the bottom. The other side of the leg. The knee, outer leg. Okay, so it's easy to, well, it's hard to sort of explain, but what I'm essentially doing is finding a rhythm lines down the figure to the bottom. Let's see what else we've got here. Okay. This figure, if we follow the same rules, oh, it's a bit small. Fill that in. Oh, whoops. Okay, what I'm going to try and do is I'll try and add another layer here. And is there a way to insert? Let me see. I'm trying to get gesture this file onto this canvas. Sorry guys, I'm trying to learn this as I go, but alright, I can't figure it out now, but let's go through it on the screen here. If I can make this a bit bigger. Oh, it's a bit pixelated, but we've got the head down there, the neck. I want to see through the neck, so through the back, and that's what it would be doing. The front of the ribs, that edge of the hip, and then it flows into here, small line to the knee, and it continues flowing This one you could do with one line and then represent the foot like that. Let's have a look at another example. Paired orientation of the eyes. This neck, you can represent it like that, but I tend to look through to the back. How do I change the opacity here? If I'm going to look through this head to the back of the head, the neck would be, I feel, the spine of the neck, the actual bones will be leaning like that. Now, you could continue on with this rib, feel the front of the rib. You could draw through to the back, the front of the pelvis. It continues down here like this for the front of that leg, the knee, and then it changes angle. I feel the angle of the bottom leg going like that for him here. This section, I feel I could represent this not only in that sense, but maybe even like that. The knee is going that general direction, and the bottom leg continues like this, and I'll round that off to close it off. So you need to experiment and put in several lines to help you figure out the feeling of this pose. See, I've already got a nice sense of rhythm here. Another example. Okay, I can't see through, but I can sort of see his eye there. So if I drew an oval, his eye line would be like that. And the back of the neck would be around here. Or you can do it like that. You need to experiment and see what feels the line represents that area for you the best. This rib, I've got it like this. I decided to capture that side there. The knee, sorry, the upper leg, knee, lower leg, upper leg, only a bit of the knee because it's foreshortened. And then the lower leg, I'm going to represent it like that. Try several different lines to see what works best for you. Okay, let's have another look at some more. Okay, here's a good one. The head, it's sort of looking downish, I'm feeling, so I'll represent that, plus the neck. Now I'll get to over this. I like the strength of that back there. That's the stretch side, and this is the compressed side. So I'll represent the back side there. This is a really strong long axis here. If you looked at one of my other videos, I've got, this is a short axis and this is a long axis. So I'm representing the long. Another one here, the leg, and then it comes back like that. And close off the leg, close off the foot there. Okay. Another example. Okay, this is Degas. And he would have done these from life, and I'm guessing he did it really quickly because these ballerinas, they don't really stay still for too long. But let's get the head. I'm trying to see through this head to the other side where the eye line would sit. Okay, so that's how I'd represent that one. The back of the neck, it's easy to see here. Okay, I don't see too much of the front, but I see this big gesture of the spine. Okay, and from there, I'll go to the front of the hip, and it's as if I'm bouncing from there to there to there. Okay, small gesture of the knee, and then another rhythm down there and into here. Look how good this rhythm bounces down to the bottom. It'll go from back to hip, back of the leg, front of the knee, back of the lower leg, front of the ankle, into the bottom of her foot. That's really nice, isn't it? This head here, this other figure, oval, eye line, back of the neck, that's the front of the rib, bounce off there into the buttock, bounce off there, look for something. That's the front of the knee, bounce, I can find that. Back of the calf, from there bounce into the ankle, from there small bounces into the heel. And I guess this lesson has shown how important it is to find rhythm. So that's the front of the other leg, bang, bang into there. The calf, bang, flows into there, and the bottom of the leg. And it just keep on looking for ways that rhythms can bounce off each other. You see? All the way down the body. If you're doing a figure like very asymmetrically like a snowman, there's nowhere for the rhythms to bounce. They just bounce off each other and it doesn't look natural. Whereas this looks a lot more interesting. Okay, what have we got here? Okay, this example, I just wanted to show you this because what happens when you've got such foreshortening here? Just draw what you're seeing. It's very small here. Bounce into that heel. Bounce. You see that front of the foot there, and I'll just close it off. So it works in foreshortening too. And an important point here also is this area of the leg is in front of this area here. Hope you're following along. And that's why I'm emphasizing this line here to show that it is in front of this area here. I could also emphasize this line here to show that it's in front of our foot here. So be aware of these overlaps. They're called T overlaps, I think. So you've got one here, especially. And then this one here is overlapping. You can see the T overlap there. So be aware of that. He doesn't say that in this instance, but it's good to be aware of that for sort of pushing the illusion that this chunk is in front of this area and this area. Okay, let's get into the gesture of the arms. Oops, sorry. I've got like 3 screens open. Bear with me while I try to figure all this out. Hopefully I'll be better in the next video. The arms, okay. So we've gone through the whole body and we're looking for rhythms. The arms. Look for the long axis. This is the longer axis. This would be the shorter axis. So if Vilppu was to represent this, he'd go down there. This is the average out, just to average out the shape of the arm. Okay. This other arm on the other side. And then the hand. Okay. And here's our T overlap to show that this hand, this arm, part of the arm is in front of the back part of the arm there. Okay. Another example of the arm. So where's the long axis? Down here. And then from this rhythm, it bounces off, you can see, into the fleshy part of the palm. And then I'll close it off like that. So it's to see to the other side, I feel it. His arm would be going like that. Bang. And then it's bouncing into that fleshy part again. This is, bear in mind, this is that back arm here I'm drawing. Okay. Okay, good. We've got a couple examples. Whoever this was is experimenting with how this arm would look in different ways, I'm guessing. Long axis. Bounces into there and close off that hand. Long axis. Bounces into there. The top of the hand. Okay. Now, I'll show you how he represents, Glenn represents these steps like so. So you see, for example, this one here, the first one, oval of the head, neck, you've got his gesture line down there, and he continues it down to the crotch. He breaks this upper leg into 2 sections, down and out. And see, it's like a waterfall almost of of the direction that water would flow down such a surface. Okay, so see how very nice and rhythmical these gestures are. Okay, now if we get into the gesture of, say you wanted to do a gesture of the hand, how would you begin? Okay, so what comes out at me at first is that finger line. The shape, the way that this palm is sort of, I could bounce something off of there. I'm representing that, the feeling of the tip of the palm. The thumb, it goes into a rhythm here, and look, it comes around. That's my gesture for this hand. From the base of the heel of the palm, it sort of goes bounces off there into there, and then you've got to bounce into the forearm. Okay. So use your intuition and creativity to figure out these things. So I feel this, the back of the hand, really feel that going down into there. I could represent that as one flowing line like that. I feel that chunk of flesh at the base of the thumb, like so, and the thumb I can represent like that. Okay, let's see what else we've got. We've done the head. Okay, we've done that one. Okay, we've done most of them. So the lesson here, like I said, I'll try and keep this one short, but the lesson is to try and do a few of these gesture drawings. Well, not a few. I think he goes into a segment here that he says he'll spend maybe 15 seconds average on a gesture, 30 seconds tops. His students would do just these gesture drawings for like 3 hours at a stretch. So obviously that breaks in between, but if you go to a life drawing class or a session, there might be only several 1-minute drawings. What you want to do is sit at home and get out an art book or get online and try and do these gesture drawings. At first, maybe take a couple of minutes. And then when you're starting to get warmed up, try and spend the least amount of time on the, try to spend less time on doing the gesture drawing. So let's go through this one last time. The head, the orientation of the eyes. This is really pushing back, so I should represent it like that. I feel this whole back here. And remember, we go from that to the legs. I've got the knee. And then the front leg. See, it's going like that. Now I'm going on to the arm. Long axis. And if I wanted to follow to the other side, just close off the forms maybe if you want. But that's took less than 30 seconds. And he says to do this, practice this more than you would doing long poses, a lot more. So I'd probably set your timer for about 3 20-minute sessions and just look for references online and just do gestures for that whole session. Don't focus on details, just focus on looking for waterfalls down the figure. So with that, I'll close off this session. It's a lot shorter than my other ones. It's gone for about 40 minutes. But next week, we can continue with Vilppu and get on to what he says are spherical forms. And I think that's using spherical forms to represent the torso. So just quickly, if I look at this figure, if we look at the bottom right, that's the upper ribs, and this would be around the pelvis area. And he talks about connecting those parts together. So that's something we can get into next week. And hopefully you took a little bit out of this, and from looking at the examples, hopefully it's a good guide for you on what you should do in your studies with gesture. So with that, take care and keep practicing.